If you're listening to this episode, there's a good chance you love Disney as much as we do, which leads to one big question.
Why are we sitting here talking about Disney when we should just be there right now?
Well, yes, but before taking that trip to Disney, why wouldn't you use a travel agent?
That's a good point, and it couldn't be any easier than booking a trip through our friend Ashley from Adventure Awaits by Ashley.
Exactly. Ashley does all the work, so we just have to show up and have fun. From park tickets to dining reservations, Disneyland to Walt Disney World, she does it all, even cruises.
And as a former cast member and annual pass holder at both parks, she knows the best times to go and all the secrets to make your next trips to the park absolutely magical.
And if that wasn't enough, she is also an expert on Universal and Epic Universe. She gave us multiple options on how to split our stay, see both theme parks, and take our vacation to a whole new level of awesome.
And her services are always free. Don't do all the planning by yourself and don't pay more than you have to. Contact Ashley at Adventure Awaits by Ashley today and make sure you mention that the Wonderful Thing About Disney podcast sent you. Hey Pixar fans, are you ready for a hole in fun? Pixar Putt, an 18-hole mini golf course inspired by your favorite Pixar movies, swings into Garden State Plaza in Paramus, New Jersey, starting October 29th for a limited time, and also continues at the Pixar Place Hotel at Disneyland Resort until January 4th, 2026. Get your tickets at www.pixarputt.com. Ready, set, putt.
Hi, I'm Jake.
And I'm Ashley.
And this is the Wonderful Thing About Disney podcast.
Because Disney's a wonderful thing. Come on down, stop on by, hop a carpet, and fly with us as we discuss the parks, treats, and all things Disney, with new episodes every wonderful Wednesday.
Everybody, here we
Happy Halloween, foolish mortals. We are back. It's Halloween week, the best time of the year. And I think in order to celebrate, there's only one thing that we can do.
Yeah, I agree.
We have to bring a special friend. Justin from Foolish Mortals and Happy Haunts is back. Justin, how are you?
Oh my goodness, you make me blush. Thank you so much. You guys are so sweet. Ah, so nice. I'm well. I'm enjoying the spooky season. It's the busiest time of the year, but the best time of the year for me. But I'm just loving it.
Awesome. So, I mean, obviously, we have some very exciting things to talk about. But before we get there, can we just talk about your incredible house decor? Like the Halloween party
Yes.
looked amazing. I want to not just trick or treat at your house, I want to camp in your yard. Like everything looks so good.
Oh, thank you. I unfortunately live in Tennessee, so a lot of people don't understand or appreciate the fact that it's Haunted Mansion. Most people think it's the Eddie Murphy movie. I'm like, no, 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 no.
No, no, no.
It's the ride. Let's be clear. But yeah, we had our big Halloween party this past weekend, and I just put up my Haunted Mansion tree, which no one's seen yet.
Oh my goodness. This is breaking news,
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, we cannot wait. We are thrilled to see. But you guys, this is my opening shameless plug. Please go follow Justin. Whether you love Haunted Mansion or it's you're just a fan of Disney, the stuff that you have made, the stuff you've collected, everything that you share is so fun. So, one of my favorite follows on Instagram and TikTok, but definitely follow Justin to get in the spirit of the week.
Well, and right back at you guys. It's the perfect thing to get you in the mood for any Disney trip. You guys are one of the first accounts that followed me, so it's mutual. Trust me.
Well, thank you.
Love
We're
it.
glad. So if Justin's here, I mean, stab in the dark, you probably know that
Yeah.
we're going to be talking Haunted Mansion. We were able to open spooky season with you, and now that it is the week of Halloween, there's nobody else we wanted more than to talk through this topic. So, Ashley, what are we talking about today?
I mean, there's only one thing we're talking about. We're talking about Haunted Mansion, of course. Yeah. To come full circle, finish out spooky season. Justin, when you were on our episode at the beginning of spooky season, this quickly became one of our top listened to episodes. So again, it only made sense to have you back. But for this episode, so earlier this year, Disneyland made an update to the story of the ride in Haunted Mansion and, kind of changed the ride a little bit. And I think it got some mixed reviews. So it kind of got us thinking like how the different haunted mansion rides are across the world because multiple international parks have haunted mansion. And yeah, how they compare and how they differ to others. So I think we want to get into that a little bit. Talk
Yeah.
about the history of haunted mansion.
Perfect.
So I think we got to start with you, Justin. Tell us about the OG, the original in Disneyland. How did we even end up here?
Oh yeah. Well, I love this story. So the Haunted Mansion opened August 9th, 1969. And if you notice, there are three nines there. So
Yes.
969, kind of cool. So initially the Haunted Mansion, Walt wasn't quite sure what he wanted it to be. Right. So there was many iterations and it had many forms. Initially it was going to be on Main Street or kind of down a crooked alley. So that was initially.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then there were so many different people working on the concepts for the Haunted Mansion. We had Yale Gracie, and just really all of them. They all had different ideas, kind of tugging at Walt, and he wasn't really sure what he wanted to do. They went ahead and built the facade, just the building itself, the mansion itself, and it stood there for years without any movement or any kind of ride system. So, and there was a
Wow.
sign out front that was like talking about signing up to become a happy haunt, and it just sat there. And Walt wasn't sure what he wanted to do, and he actually passed away before they landed on the final decision.
Mm.
So initially, they were going to do a walkthrough attraction, and then it was like going to be a Museum of the Weird type thing, and then
Okay.
that evolved after he passed away to do a ride where you ride through the spooky haunted mansion that we all know and love today.
Amazing. Amazing. I had no idea. And again, I knew that he was very intrigued by the effects of everything, but it's interesting to know that he never got to see
Yeah.
all of that in all its glory all put together.
Yep.
Crazy. So, with that, we've got some key story pieces, if you will, that bring all of this together. I mean, there's a lot of characters that we know and love. How does that all work together in like this theme of death? Like, because there's a lot to it. And full disclosure, before we ever wrote it, like we thought there's this major following for it. What is all of that about?
Yeah.
And it took us a couple times through the
Yeah.
ride before it started to click.
Yeah.
And then we're like, oh, okay, now we
We
get
get
it.
it.
But it does take a minute, and what I think is so special about the Haunted Mansion is that it does kind of call to the hearts of all of your spooky friends, and it's a place you can go and visit and kind of also explore. And there's so much that you can kind of create your own backstory because for years there never was a backstory. Most of the backstory we have today is developed and was developed by actual cast members that worked the Haunted Mansion. Yeah. So that was
That's
never official until like the past 10 years. Like Ezra, Phineas, and Gus, those are all cast member, like Butler and made up those names.
that's
Yeah.
amazing. I
Yeah.
had no idea. And that it was that recent as well.
Yeah.
And it stuck. And it stuck, and now that it's gotten popular, it does make sense to brand the IP and the characters. But even Constance, that name was not a thing until the 2007 refurb at Disney World.
Interesting. I did not know that.
That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Mhm.
Well, and this is once we started to read into this, like, and again, I think we talked about this on the last episode. It seems like with a lot of your collection, that wasn't really a thing to have merchandise and other things until
Right.
somewhat recently, more later.
Yeah, it really started around the 40th anniversary of the ride. So we are now, this is the 56th anniversary this year. So about 16 years ago, and it was a little before that, they had some big figs that came out, maybe the year or two before, but the 40th anniversary, it took off. They had jackets and shoes and collectibles and glassware and you name it, they had it. The 50th anniversary for Disneyland and the 40th anniversary for Haunted Mansion. So those are the two big anniversaries.
Incredible. And I remember mentioning to you this year on Instagram, like, apparently this is an annual thing that we release a Haunted Mansion collection. And I was not ready.
Yeah.
Like, I need to prepare my bank account for next year
Seriously.
because it is a thing. We were spoiled.
every July. This is going to be a thing now that they do. They'll tease it around halfway to Halloween, and then they'll
Mm,
drop merchandise after the 4th of July on Shop Disney.
Okay.
I love it.
So before we move on then, with this change to the Haunted Mansion stories, particularly The Bride,
Mhm.
where do you stand on that for the Disneyland version?
Great question. When I saw the photos, I was very hesitant and I was very leery about it because her face looked kind of pixelated and it just doesn't really translate well in photos.
Yeah.
But in person, I must say I really, really liked it. The effect of because it's multi-layered. It's not just a projection. There's the candelabra is a real candelabra. The veil is a real floating veil, and then I don't know. So in person, I think it looks a lot better. For what it's
Yeah.
worth, I've heard it is coming to Magic Kingdom as well.
Mm.
So
Okay.
it's a matter of time before that hits Magic Kingdom. I think that they're kind of removing the Constance branding and then the whole uh, murderous axe wielding bride. They're taking that away to make it more ambiguous. I mean, if you want that to be her story still, that can be her story for you, but it's up to the viewer to kind of decide how these husbands disappeared. Because now,
Yeah.
because it used to be their heads would disappear. Now, as you go through, their whole
Mhm.
bodies disappear. So it's kind of ambiguous. I think ultimately a lot of people are worried about softening the message. I don't think it necessarily takes away anything. You have to remember the headless groom, the axe wielding bride, that all came about in 2007. That's a new thing. She was just called the bride before. So this it's a new story for Constance or the bride is not unheard of for us. And I don't think it takes away from the experience at all. And I've heard the hanging man is maybe going to be removed for sure as well. So
Oh, interesting.
yeah.
Because that probably was one of, if not the darkest part of the
Yeah.
attraction, and that was right up front too.
Yeah,
So
it is. And, it's a hot take, but I don't disagree with that. I think
yeah.
that, Disney has to be a happy place for all, right? And
Yeah.
imagine that you had a tragedy where that affected someone you loved and you wanted to escape and go to Disney and then you kind of saw that. That would be hard. Now,
Yeah.
okay, of course, if it stays, but I've heard that there's possibly like holograms in development, possibly bats, maybe. So we'll see how that.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that's what.
Well, that's beautifully said, and that is something that we all have to remember, even when
Yeah.
it comes to our favorite attractions.
Yeah.
So, with that, we know that there are other haunted mansions around the world,
Yeah.
and you kind of opened up with the original version in Disneyland. Let's kind of talk a little bit about how we ended up with the other mansions.
Yeah. Yeah. So there are, again, other haunted mansions. So you have Disneyland, which opened in 1969. You have Walt Disney World, which opened in 1971. You have the Haunted Mansion in Tokyo Disneyland, opened in 1983. Then you have Disneyland Paris, which is called Phantom Manor, and that opened in 1992. And then most recently, you have in Hong Kong Disneyland is Mystic Manor, and that opened in 2013. And there is actually a fun fact. This is one of my favorite fun facts, and I've been wanting to share this, so I'm excited that I finally get to share it. But if you think about it, none of the Haunted Mansion attractions reside in the same land in any park, which is crazy to think about. So
Yeah,
in Disneyland, it's in New Orleans Square. Walt Disney World, it's in Liberty Square. Tokyo, it's actually in Fantasyland.
which is wild.
In Disneyland Paris, it's in Frontierland,
Mhm.
which we'll get into that. And then in Hong Kong, it is at Mystic Point.
Crazy.
It's weird.
And that's a fun like cast member question too. When we've been pin trading to see a mystery pin, we've actually had a cast member
Hmm.
ask us that. And that's ultimately where we first learned about
Yeah.
this because we had no idea. I'm thinking Pirates of the Caribbean
Yeah.
or Big Thunder Mountain. Oh no,
Nope, it's
Haunted
Haunted
Mansion.
Mansion. Yeah. And you probably noticed that we did not mention Shanghai. So,
Yeah.
Shanghai Disneyland actually does not have a Haunted Mansion, and that's because of the Chinese culture. So, from what I researched, so Chinese culture believes that ghosts are relatives that come back to help the descendants only if they're treated with the utmost respect. So, essentially, it's disrespectful and offending to make fun of the dead. And that's essentially what Haunted Mansion is doing. So, for the Chinese culture, Haunted Mansion can seem kind of spooky and frightening. Now, Mystic Point, again, is Hong Kong. However, they have no ghosts in that haunted mansion. That's a more fun, lighthearted kind of way to get around it, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But yeah, so that's just a brief haunted mansion across the world history.
You can
Interesting.
say it.
So good. So, Justin, let's talk about jumping over to Orlando now. How does the Haunted Mansion in Orlando differ from the Haunted Mansion in Disneyland?
So it's very different. And what I like about it is it was an opening day attraction for Disney World. It opened on October 1st, 1971 with the rest of the park.
That was
The
cool.
idea is that you're heading towards, the Hudson River, upstate New York. And it's supposed to look like, New Englandish and kind of that whole spooky vibe. And it's very much a New York style manner. It reminds me of the Munsters. I've always loved the facade of Disney Worlds. It's very, very like 1313 Mockingbird Lane, right? But you'll notice that there's a lot of nautical themes at Disney Worlds because it's supposed to be so close to the Hudson River, which was formerly the River of America, which unfortunately we're losing, but that's okay. Um, it's very different from Disneyland's, but I think you had the times broken down, right? Of which
Mhm.
ride was longer.
Hmm.
Remind me what those were. I think you said it
The
was.
Yep. So, yep, Walt Disney World was 1971, Tokyo was 1983, and then Phantom Manor was 92, and Mystic Manor was 2013.
Yes. So yeah, even though there are more scenes in the ride at Disney World, I don't think it matters much in terms of like the length of the ride. But
Mm,
uh, there's like the Captain Culpepper tombstone in the queue. There's the portrait of the Captain Culpepper. It's lots of nautical themes, and it's like the Columbia Harbor House restaurant, which is a seafood themed
yeah.
restaurant, has a huge view of the mansion. So definitely try to tie it into like a New England, New York pier.
And that's something that I don't know that I really realized until you mentioned that and how it actually does tie in very well with that Liberty Square land and the restaurant nearby and stuff, which is really cool.
Mhm.
So, difference in length of ride as we were kind of looking at this, the Disneyland version, if you include the pre-show, is about 10 to 12 minutes, and the ride itself about 7 minutes. Walt Disney World is about 7.5 minutes on the ride, but only 8 to 10 in the pre-show. So, like you mentioned, pretty close.
Yeah. It's interesting that it's so close because Disney World has so many different additional scenes.
Right.
They use any scenes, but they added so many. So Disneyland, when you first start on the ride, you immediately go to the endless hallway, and that's where the
Yeah.
candelabra is floating, and you got the Donald Duck chair. Whereas Disney World, you start off in a library scene, which is really cool. You've got the bus that follow you and things like that, which that's in the queue at Disneyland, but it's a ride show scene at Disney World. And then it's got the music scene, the endless staircase scene, so many different scenes that are added, yet the length doesn't show that. I find that very interesting.
Right. Amazing. Yeah, really is cool. So now that we talked about the two domestic parks, this is where we really started going down the rabbit hole. And what we thought it would be fun to share in this episode is how each ride kind of tells its own story
Hmm.
because there is a different theme as you go across. So we thought we would start off with the one international park that we've been to, which is Phantom Manor in Paris.
Yeah. So I mean, I think we were pretty vocal about it when we went to Disneyland Paris that we didn't love this. However, like reading and researching the full backstory, I do have a better appreciation for it. I still don't love it, hot take, but that's okay. That's okay. So there were actually two different storylines. So one was from 1992 to 2018 before it was refurbished, and then the second storyline is 2018, obviously to present. But this follows Henry Ravenswood. So he was born in 1795 and he was a Western settler who struck gold in Big Thunder Mountain and founded the Thunder Mesa Mining Company. Because remember, Phantom Manor is in Frontierland. So Ravenswood became rich and he built himself a Victorian mansion where he lived with his wife, Martha, and his daughter, Melanie. And as Melanie grew older, she began to have several suitors who wanted to take her away from Thunder Mesa. And Henry did everything that he could to stop this. And there were four suitors that were killed pretty recently, yeah, within the manor.
Gasp.
Gasp. And then a terrible earthquake killed Henry and Martha. And then not long after that, Melanie finally got engaged to a train engineer, Jake. Yeah. So on Melanie's wedding day, a mysterious phantom appeared and lured Jake into the attic where he was hung, unfortunately. Sorry about that.
It's taking a dark turn.
So Melanie remained in the house waiting for her groom, unsure as to why he didn't show up for the wedding. And meanwhile, the Phantom is celebrating and he is now inviting all of his friends into the manor.
That's why she's waiting?
That's why she's waiting.
I just thought he didn't. Oh my goodness.
No. So
My heart.
so today, no one knows if Melanie Ravenswood is still alive in that old house on the hill. If she is, then she's well over 100 years old. Many people believe that the phantom is Melanie's father, Henry Ravenswood, seeking vengeance from beyond the grave. Others believe it's just a pure evil spirit that cursed the place and the young woman. So then that brings you to 2018 when the ride was refurbished and the storyline changed a bit. So in this storyline, you did confirm that the Phantom was indeed Henry. So it
Okay.
wasn't until 2018 that you knew that the Phantom actually was Henry. And he vowed that no one would marry his daughter no matter what. So instead of simply Jake, Melanie had a variety of suitors who were killed in various accidents, and you actually learn about those suitors throughout the ride, whereas before you didn't know much about them. You just knew that they were killed, but then you kind of learn their backstory. Um, so yeah, that's Phantom Manor in Disneyland Paris.
I don't know. Justin, thoughts? Like,
So most people say it's their favorite version. I'm not ridden it, so I'm surprised to hear that you guys didn't like it. But they did soften the story quite a bit in 2018. For example, a lot of the nooses were removed. I think all of the nooses were removed from
hmm.
the ride completely. And the stretching portraits now identify each suitor and how they passed in theirs now. So that's a change. Overall, I think the changes were all very positive. It's a very cohesive story. I like the fact that what I like about it is it's an anchor to the story of the land. Whereas
Yes.
Square can kind of live independently, whether the Haunted Mansion's there or not. The story of Thunder Mesa lives and dies on the Phantom Manor. And that is the whole entire lore of the whole land, which I think is just brilliant. And my spooky heart loves that. I would love to see it in person. I haven't before, but that's a goal of mine. I'm jealous of you too.
Well, and that's again, I think our ignorance, and we purposefully went into that ride in particular, not wanting to read anything or get any spoilers. And I think that almost did us a disservice. I
Yeah.
think had we done a little more research and learned, and you are exactly right, like the whole land hinges and
Yeah.
ties into the Phantom Manor.
Yeah.
And I will say that looking from the outside, that is probably my favorite building.
Oh
Like
Yeah.
yeah.
it looks spooky, it feels spooky, and as they take you in those front doors, like it feels like you are somewhere else in another time period. It's very well done in
Yeah.
that
Go.
way.
Yeah.
And maybe it's one of those things, we all have those movies where you have huge expectations, you don't look it up, you saw it, you didn't like it, and then a few years later you revisit it and it's your favorite thing ever. That's
Yeah,
probably what's going to happen with you guys in Phantom Manor when you go back one day.
Yeah.
I think
No,
so
I
too.
totally agree.
You're
Yeah.
there.
Totally agree.
So that's Phantom Manor. Again, phenomenal, and it fits the land, it fits that culture, everything. Definitely my favorite land in all of Disneyland Paris.
For sure.
Let's talk about Tokyo, Justin. And this one is kind of a unique story as well that ties into why the Japanese even wanted Disneyland there in the first place. So tell us a little bit about the Haunted Mansion in Tokyo.
So I'm not as familiar with Tokyo's, but I do know that theirs is in Fantasyland. And the reason why that is because they view ghosts as a form of make-believe and fantasy.
Okay.
So it's a culture thing for them. They don't see ghosts as like a real thing. They don't see ghosts as spooky. They see ghosts as a magical fantasy world. I know their facade is very similar to Disney World's, but they've got one busted out window with like a curtain rod sticking out, which is really cool. So it's
Interesting.
all kinds of, and there's got like a little cool clock out front that's really interesting. For the most part, it's the Disney World version of Haunted Mansion opening day. They've got the original bride. They don't have the staircase scene, so it's very much untouched. Tokyo isn't unique in the fact that Disney really can't tell them what to do based on their contract. As long as they upkeep and maintain standards, they don't have to change anything. They've got
Yeah.
Splash Mountain, they've got all the stuff that we don't have, the original Country Bears, all unchanged. So their Haunted Mansion is identical to the way it was when it opened. What was it, 90? I don't remember the year, but it was identical to,
71, yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
Has been.
Well, and that's the really cool thing too, that I think, like you mentioned, that Tokyo Disneyland has a very unique place in Disney parks for that reason. And I do love your explanation and how they leaned into the fantastical with it. Like
Hmm.
the mansion's gates have statues of griffins that are fantastical creatures and stuff. And there are some different variances, but it's really cool that you can go back and see it as it was initially designed to be. A couple other notes that I found is in the changing portrait corridor. The mansion features a hallway decorated with the sinister 11 portraits, so all of whom stare at guests with glowing green eyes. And this was again present in the original Magic Kingdom version prior to its 2007 refurb. And then instead of the endless staircase, this features a dark room covered in cobwebs and three giant spiders, you know. So again, kind of that balance between the spooky and the fantastical and whimsical and stuff. But yeah, the other difference, and this is again, if you took Disneyland and Disney World and mashed them together, is over in Tokyo. They do have the Haunted Mansion holiday
Uh,
overlay of Nightmare Before Christmas. And from what we've heard, that one is even more superior than the Disneyland version. The animatronics, some of the additions to it, it actually looks pretty cool, which if you follow us, you know, like we're not the biggest haunted or Nightmare Before
Nightmare.
Christmas fans,
Yeah.
so we will give it a chance. But I think if we were to choose, we're going to try and go during a time of year that we can experience the
Yeah,
original mansion.
for sure. Yeah. So, moving on to Mystic Manor. So, this is again in Hong Kong. So, as I mentioned, Mystic Manor has no mentions of ghosts or the departed life. This one is more fun and lighthearted. So, this follows the story of Lord Henry Mystic, who's an eccentric adventurer, explorer, and a collector of art. So, during an expedition, Lord Henry Mystic discovered a young monkey entangled in a web of a spider. So, he rescued the monkey and named him Albert. Taken with Albert in the tropical land, Lord Henry decided to stay, christening the area Mystic Point and his home Mystic Manor. So Mystic Manor is regarded as one of the foremost museums in the world, and it hosts his ever-growing collection of arts, artifacts, and these were gathered by members of Lord Henry's team, the Society of Explorers and Sea Adventurers, or SEA. So the most recent artifact that he acquired was a beautifully carved music box.
Ooh.
So upon arrival, Albert, of course, being curious, he appears and he kind of paws at the music box, and unexpectedly, he causes the box to open. A haunting melody plays, and a stream of glittering dust drifts through the room in the museum, and it miraculously brings everything to life in the room and in the manor. So throughout the mansion, there are 8 galleries that are overflowing with animated antiques, and they're waiting to be explored in the manor. So you will encounter a man-eating plant, an exotic instruments, creepy crawly bugs, and a mystic monkey king.
A mystic monkey king.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. It's very different in terms of tone, and I think you said it best. This all has to do with the Chinese culture and the respect they have for the dead, right? So it's very much heavily on inanimate objects coming to life, um, antiques springing at you. And there are a couple of things that overlap with the mansion. There's not many, but there is a version of the Medusa portrait, which flashes the snakes actually pop out at you, which is really cool.
That's
And
cool.
then, yeah, I love that part of that ride. If you've not watched the YouTube video, you definitely should. It's not in English anyway, so it's not going to spoil much, but definitely watch it. And then there also are the bus that follow you around. They have those there too. So,
Very
Nice.
cool.
yeah.
Well, that one is probably the one that I'm most intrigued of now that we've seen Phantom Manners. I'm really curious how it all ties together, and I imagine that it's really fun and enjoyable, but what an interesting take on this classic Disney attraction and finding a way to make it fit comfortably in a new culture. And I think that's really beautiful and really cool.
I was begging to get that at one point at Animal Kingdom. How cool would that have
Oh
been?
my goodness.
That would have been awesome.
Oh,
That would be amazing. Oh man, that's great.
we'll take Encanto, but at the time I really wanted
Yeah. Yeah.
dinner.
Yes, absolutely. So, with all of these different versions, Justin, is there any one of those that you would like to see more than the other? Like, which one are you most excited to experience?
Well, definitely Phantom Manor, even though some people love it, some people don't love it. That is something that it's bucket list, probably top one thing that I want to do before I die type thing. So Phantom Manor for sure. But I would be remiss to not mention the Haunted Mansion Parlor. I think it's
Yes.
a since it's got its own contained story, I consider it a different iteration as well, just like all of the different ones that are around the world.
So,
So
I know that you've shared this a little bit on your Instagram, but would you mind sharing about that for us?
sure. So the Haunted Mansion Parlor is essentially its own contained Haunted Mansion story, just like all the other ones around the world. The story is that a sea captain found a maiden at sea, and she was singing, and they fell in love, and he rescued her from the ocean. But it turns out she was a siren. And as you enter the parlor, they're in the middle of a swinging wake because they can't find the bride or the captain. They're now missing, and it's believed they are in the depths of the ocean.
That is wild.
Yeah.
And just from pictures, and especially what you shared of your experience, like that immediately jumped to the top of my
Yeah.
list of like our next cruise. We have to go
Yeah.
on the
Yep.
treasure. We have to experience it.
Yep.
It's unbelievable theming, the story, everything out of this world.
Yeah.
Something that's really cool.
Amazing.
And I got to meet with an Imagineer a couple weeks ago, and it was really, really nice. And they explained to me that they tied in Mystic Manor into the Haunted Mansion parlor. So in the corner, there's this music box, and at some point, it starts shaking and rattling, and it opens, and there's a heartbeat inside, and it glows red, and it ties back to the music box from Mystic Manor.
Stop it right now.
Yeah,
I love that.
That's incredible. Oh my goodness. All the more reason to
you guys.
go and experience it. That
Yep.
well done. Well done, Imagineers. Well
Right.
done. So before we close, Justin, any last thoughts or tell our listeners again where they can find you. Tell us about the Facebook group and how they can, join in the fun of this community that you've created.
Sure. So we've got almost 30,000 members on Facebook. It's Foolish Mortals and Happy Hunts. I think I'm at like 11,000 on Instagram. I don't really remember. It's Foolish Mortals and Happy Hunts as well. It's consistent, easy to find. We would love to have you join on the fun. We encourage any kind of spooky fun, not just Haunted Mansion, Tower of Terror, Halloween, whatever you want to post. We enjoy and welcome all of that.
Amazing. Well, Justin, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your knowledge with us and talking through these stories. I still stand by at some point. We would love to plan a trip to coincide with you guys to go and experience that together. I mean, as soon as the construction is done over in Paris with what they're adding on with Frozen Land and some of these other things, like we're locked in. We got to go. But again, we owe Phantom Manor another ride now that
We
we
do.
understand a little better. So we just think the world of you. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Hey, my pleasure. Right back at you guys. Thank you.
That's it for this week's episode. Don't forget to rate our show on Apple or Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. Subscribe to support our show on Patreon. Check out our t shirt shop, Shop Threads of Imagination. And until next wonderful Wednesday, TTFN.